Hello and welcome to another episode of the Warhammer 40,000 Rulebook series. Today we're going to look at 5th edition. Now, compared to the last edition we looked at in the last episode, this book has quite a few changes to it, and for the benefit of the game, I believe. They've made the game more playable, more simplified in a way, but in a very good way, in my opinion. This is actually one of my favourite editions of all time. I do like this edition, and it was actually the first rulebook edition that I was excited for having a revamp when it comes to the rules change. So it's going to be an interesting look as we delve in to the Warhammer 40,000 rulebook. I hope you stay tuned as we look through this book. Hope you enjoy. Right, here we go. I haven't looked at this book for some time. I reckon around 5-6 years, just like the 4th edition rulebook. But for the first time, I'm going to open the page. There you go. Got a nice quote there. And I'd say very good front cover, once again from Games Workshop. And plain, simple. It's got Assault on the Black Reach, which comes with one of the main core sets that they released during this period. And it says, "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war." Famous quotation again from the Warhammer series. Here we go. The Emperor of Mankind in his state, but there's rumours going around that he may not be the Emperor. Interesting times as the story has developed over the years. Here we go. Now, the layout in this rulebook is excellent, in my opinion. It's nicely laid out. It's got a nice glossy paper finish to it, which is really good. Really, really good. We've got all the layout here. So, starting from the order of the turn, movement phase, shooting phase, weapons. Very similar to the previous episode. Previous edition. There we go. Nice colour pictures this time, straight away. There we go. That's a classic there, introduction. Very nice. You've got the Ultramarines against the Orcs. Ultramarines are my favourite chapter. There we go. Very nice. That's excellent. Good introduction. Very important. Here we go. What you need. There you go. Just give you the basic layout on how to set up a 40k game. It's very, very good. If you wanted to do like a 500-point game, this would be perfect for you. Just Imperial Guard against Tyranids as an example. What you need. Different types of terrain. Very good. Nice. Very nice. Happy with that. Building an army. There you go. All the miniatures, the codexes. It gives you an example on how to calculate a force. It's very good. Nicely laid out, I have to say. Fighting a battle. There you go. Tyranids against Tau. That's really nice terrain, actually. I do like that desert theme there. And then you've got the outskirts of the city here. They've got Eldar against Chaos, which is a classic. It's very good. Very good. Overview of play. So there you go, it gives you all the basics of each of the units. So for example, that's the Space Marine there. We all know the stats there. Weapon skill 4, BS 4, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 1, initiative 4, attacks 1, leadership 10, save 3+. It's just the same as the last codex and at the current, not codex, sorry, the rulebook editions there, and in our current edition, which is very good. There you go. Excellent stuff. It's Black Templars against Tyranids. That's very good. That's the old gargoyles. They're in plastic now. They were in lead. And that's the old Brood Lord. He's been recently revamped. There we go. the rules. Here we go. Now, what changes have happened? We're about to find out. Nicely laid out. Dice, d6, rolling a d3, re-rolls and roll-offs. Modifying dice rolls, scatter dice. There you go, different types of dice you would need. Most important rule. There you go. It's very good. Good statement from Games Workshop. Models and units. Bases. Now, bases, especially in 7th edition, have changed. There's loads of variety of different size bases. I have to keep revamping the bases. I used to have all my Marines on 20mm bases, but then the 32mm bases came out, and I put them on the Space Marines, and they look so much bigger and better. And what they've recently done as well is they've redone the bike bases as well, so I have to get some new overall bikes for my bike bases. So that's good in the way that they've done that. There were those that did complain that, oh no, I had to rebase the bases, but I had to get new ones. But the game has to develop, which you have to in order to play the game legally and properly. Measuring distances. There we go. 5 inches as an example. 2 inches. Very good. Excellent. Unit types. So there's still a few black and white pictures in this edition, but I'm not a big. I don't mind black and white pictures, to be honest with you. I like it when there's actually a variety in a rulebook, which is what they've done. It's very good. Unit types: infantry, beasts and cavalry, monstrous creatures, jump infantry, artillery, bikes and jet bikes, and vehicles. Very good. Here we go. The characteristics: weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, wounds, initiative, attacks, leadership, armor save. Vehicle characteristics. Okay, there you go, it gives you all the armor, etc. Now, I think they got rid of the stratagem rating in this edition. Yep, I don't think stratagem exists anymore, which we'll come to later on when it comes to deployment of the forces and scenario. So there you go, it gives you an example of a characteristic for the profiles. Excellent. Okay. Leadership tests, point values. It's fine. Okay, the turn sequence: movement, shooting phase, and assault phase. There's only 3, yeah, basically what it is. Normally there'd be 4 in 7th edition, because there would obviously be the psychic phase, but that was coming in. That came in 7th edition. Game turns, play turns. Who gets the first turn? Determined by the number. Normally, both players roll a d6. It's very, very easy. They simplified it a lot, but in a good way. This is a good move from Games Workshop. Victory. How to achieve victory in the heat of battle. Turn sequence and exceptions. Right, there we go. I love that picture. It's a fantastic picture. There. The movement phase. So there we go. Models in the way. Models distance. Random compulsory movement. Turning and facing. Moving and close combat. Okay. Now, unit coherency. Now this is nicely laid out. I love these little diagrams. Excellent. So it gives you an example on how to do a 6-inch move, because a lot of people made the mistake at the time of how not to do it. When people do it wrong. But this gives you an example how to do it legally and correct. It's very good. So a rhino moves 6 inches. That's how you do it. From front to front. Not from front to back. That's not 6 inches. That's an illegal move. But it tells you what is legal and what is not. There you go. Likewise with the infantry, you've got 6 inches from the edge of the base from the front rather than from the back. It's very good. Nicely laid out. Unit coherency. 2 inches still. Nothing has changed. 3 inches out of coherency. Very good. Terrain. So you can be creative with different types of terrain, what kind of game you want to do, whether it be competitive, or campaign, or a storyline theme game. So terrain, you can imagine how you want to do it. Okay. Moving through difficult terrain. It looks like it's the same. Yep. Okay. Moving through difficult terrain. Roll 2d6. Yep. Select the highest. Exactly the same. Just double checking there because you never know, there may be some changes. Okay. Shooting phase. Check line of sight and pick a target. Now, big changes here. Instead of that complicated, oh, you have to be 6 inches in, in cover, they got rid of that. It's all to do now with line of sight, true line of sight. Now, what is true line of sight? Now, true line of sight is where you can see the head, the torso, arms, legs, and body. Now, not true line of sight is banners, plumes, guns. That's not true line of sight. You have to see the enemy properly, and they clarified this in here, which is very good. So, shooting sequence. Check line of sight and pick a target. Check the range. Now, in this edition, there's no such thing as pre-measuring. Okay, that came in 6th edition, I believe. Now, pre-measuring means, oh, I can pre-measure before I declare what targets. And in 5th edition and in previous editions, they didn't do that. So what you do here is check the range, obviously. Roll to hit using a d6, which is fine, depending on your ballistic skill. Roll to wound, take saving throws, remove casualties. Very similar to the previous edition, Rulebook edition. Disallowed shooting. Here we go. Certain situations prevent units from firing. Most common are units are locked in combat. So if you're locked in combat, you can't shoot. Units that are running. Yep, that's fine. So if you ran, because they introduced running again. So you move, and if you didn't want to shoot, you run a d6 extra. Which is fine. Units that have gone to ground. Fair enough. Now bearing in mind there was no such thing as snap shooting. That came in 6th edition. In addition to the above, certain types of weapons can only be fired if they did not move at the same turn. However, it will only prevent models with that weapon from shooting, not the whole unit. Okay. Run. So basically, it's very simple. As explained earlier, you just roll a d6 and then you run. That's if you don't want to shoot. So it makes you go quicker towards your objective. That is a very, very good idea. It's excellent. There you go. Shows an example of what clear line of sight is. So it's more realistic there. And what can help here is some players have a laser pen. So if it's really debatable, oh, can I see that tank or that infantryman? I just get a laser pen, which is what I have, which is very, very handy. Which makes the game more fun, I believe. Which models can fire, depending on the profile of the unit and what weapons they have. Check the range. There you go. Been for that in the last edition. Very, very similar. It's actually exactly the same. To be honest with you, check the range. There you go. Now it's all, again, one unit has to fire at another unit. There's no split fire, that type of thing, unless you do a unique rule, which is called the split fire, which comes in, I don't think this actually came in 5th edition, I think it came in 6th edition. Moving and shooting, depending on what type of weapon you have. Rolling to hits, so score needs to hit, and roll over 1 is 6, so if your ballistic skill 1, you get 6 to hit. 2, 5, etc. Now, here we go. So here we go. Okay, to hit rolls are easy to remember. Just subtract the BS, the shooter, from 7. They'll give you the number you need. Example, ballistic skill 2 needs a 5 or more. Easy as that. Note, the minimum roll is always at least 2 when rolling to hit. There's no such thing as an automatic hit. That's fair enough. Any roll of a 1 always misses. Okay. Now, this was very good. I'm glad they done this. Ballistic skill 6, 7, 8 and 9 and 10. Okay. How this works is very simple. If you're ballistic skill 6, you need a 2+ to hit. If you roll a 1, you need to roll a 6+ to hit. A roll of a 7, or ballistic skill 7, you need a 2+ followed by a 5+. And on ballistic skill 8, you need a 2+ followed by a 4+. On ballistic skill 9, you need a 2+ followed by a 3+. And then on a roll of a, well, for ballistic skill 10, you need a 2+ followed by a 2+. Excellent move from Games Workshop. I'm glad they put that back in, because in 4th edition they didn't have that. Very good. Very, very good. Roll to wound. So the bolt gun is basic strength of 4, plasma gun strength 7, lattice cannon strength 9. Hasn't changed. All the same. Toughness characteristic, exactly the same as in 4th edition. Speed rolling. Yeah, so basically what he's saying is that you're so used to the profile, you just do speed rolling very, very quickly. And in battle reports, we can get like that, literally. Such as Striking Scorpion 82, which is Luke, and also Lawrence from Tabletop Tactics. He does that as well. He uses the camera, opponent rolls the dice very quickly. I noticed in his battle reports, very quick dice rolling, which makes the game actually very exciting. If you obviously know how to play the game properly, it's very, very repetitive. You get so used to the characteristics, which is the good thing about Games Workshop. It's excellent. To wound chart, it's the same. Dice on the floor. Okay. Now it gives you, this is very good actually, so it gives you the rules for cocked dice and dice on the floor. This wasn't in previous editions, so it clarifies it very, very well. So if you had a cocked dice, say if it's unbalanced or it's not a level surface, your opponent has to re-roll that dice. Okay, now, dice on the floor. It's generally accepted if there is dice ends up on the floor, it doesn't count. So you don't need to shine a torch under the sofa to find it if you've made a save. Most gamers agree that such dice can be rolled again. However, one player we know has a house rule that if your dice misses the table, you have failed the roll. After all, if you can't hit a huge table with a tiny dice, then what chance have your warriors got? Well, in a way, he's got a good point. It's got a large gaming surface, and using a little d6 is easily rolled on the table, but accidents could happen. But usually, if it goes on the floor, we just re-roll it for gaming purposes. You can if you want to. So there's two options you could do there. Interesting stuff. Okay. Saving throws. The same. Exactly the same, it looks like. Armor saves. There you go, Space Marine's got 3+ armor save. Armor piercing weapons, so the AP value is still in. So for example, AP 2 against 2+ armor save will slice through the armor. Simple as that. Invulnerable saves. So if it's an AP 2 weapon against a 2+ armor save character, you've got something called invulnerable save. Exactly the same. Cover saves. Depending on what type of cover. Here we go. Razor wire and mesh 6+. High grass, crops, bushes, hedges and fences 5+. Units, friends and enemies 4+. Trenches, gun pits, tank traps, emplacements, sandbags. Oh, sandbags got 4+ save. In 5th edition. I mean in 6th and 7th that's 5+. So cover was very good. Barricades, logs, even logs. Logs, pipes, crates, barrels, hill crests 4+. Woods, jungles, wreckage, even wrecks are 4+. Like tank wreckage, that type of thing. Craters, rubble, rocks, ruins, walls, buildings and wrecked vehicles. Fortifications 3+. A bit different there. I mean, it's quite good actually, the cover save chart. I like that. Probably better actually, in a way. When model fires in cover. Again, it's all about true line of sight. And trying to target its body. Then via page 16. True line of sight. Secured points of view. And the target model is in cover. So you check line of sight, and if he goes through the cover, depending on what type of cover, he gets that cover save. That's very good. Intervening models. So if you have intervening models in the way, so for example, if you had a unit of guardsmen protecting a tank, but the enemy wanted to target the tank, the tank would get a cover save 4+. Bit cheesy, but in 6th edition they changed that to a 5+. Awesome. That was one of the cheesy things about 5th edition, was 4+. The cover save was very good, even when hiding men. Right, exceptions. Firing for different types of terrain. Firing over the barrier. Firing out of area terrain. Firing through units or area terrain. Inside area terrain. Partially in cover. Okay, this is an interesting bit. Because some, say for instance you had a terrain piece, okay, and you had a marine which was half on the terrain and half not. Let's see what it says here. Units partially in cover. Sometimes a unit will only be partially in cover with some of its models in cover, some not. In this case, you must decide if the majority of the unit is in cover. So that's important. It's good that they put that in. Models that are completely out of sight are considered to be in cover for this purpose. That's fine. As clarified earlier. If half or more of the models in the target unit are in cover, then the entire unit is deemed to be in cover, and all of its models may take cover saves. Okay. If less than half the models of the target are in cover, then the entire unit counts as exposed, and none of its models may take cover saves. So it's very important that you have to have over 50% or 50% or more of your units in cover. Otherwise, if you don't, you're not considered to be in cover. Interesting stuff. Of course, being in cover is not depends on the position of the firer. And then clarified, goes into more detail there about that aspect. Interesting. So there we go, got a scenario here where they won't get any cover saves, but then they do. And then you got another scenario here which they'll get a cover save. Unit has a 4+ cover save. Unit's not in cover because it doesn't have a cover save. Okay, so I think you roll a few at a time, and then you get to the cover save. So, oh, I see. That's interesting. So if it's really debatable, it's a 5+ cover save. Interesting. Cover saves are a big change in 5th edition. Probably the biggest change in 5th edition. Interesting. Going to ground. So for example, they introduced this rule, and if your men is doing nothing and there's an artillery bombardment, you can tell your men to get your heads down. Men receive a +1 cover save, like 6+ cover save, even in the open. So if you had guardsmen that were sitting there doing nothing, they just go to ground. Alright, okay. Yeah, I think I remember that. I think they kept that in 6th edition as well, because in one of the Apocalypse battle reports, I had Morlocks popping up against my guardsmen. I just ordered my guardsmen to go to ground, because they heard the earth shaking beneath them. So I was like, get down, go to ground, that type of thing. So I think they changed that in 7th edition. So when the unit does its attack, then you get to do the go to ground move. But you can only fire couldn't fire at this time, whereas in the new editions you can snap shoot, which is rather interesting with the rules changed there. Maximum save. Yep, always any roll of a 1 is always a fail. Okay. Multiple wound models, instant death, exactly the same. Multiple wounds models, yep, that's fine. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. Models and armor piercing strength, armor piercing type is the same. Okay. Yeah, that's a big change actually. Rapid fire weapons. In 6th edition they changed this because you can shoot one shot at long range, whereas if you're moving and you're not in rapid fire range, you couldn't shoot. Interesting. In 6th edition it's more flexible, so rapid fire weapons got a lot better in 6th. I remember that big change that was. Assault weapons, fire, assault. Okay, if you're moving, may not shoot. There you go. Big changes. Remember, there's no such thing as snap shooting. That came in 6th. Heavy weapons. It's exactly the same. Now, flamer templates. A lot of people get this wrong. One of the mistakes I think 5th edition did, there was a picture of a guy with a flamer. And it was measured from the tip. But that's not the case. With infantry or monstrous creatures, you measure the template, flamer template, from the base. And it has a 360-degree arc. With vehicles, however, it is different. It fires from the actual tip of the weapon, from the muzzle. So, yeah, big difference there. So you don't measure it from the weapon, you measure it from the base, whereas with vehicles you measure it from the muzzle. There you go, template weapons. But other than that, it hasn't really changed as such. The profiles are exactly the same. Now, blast weapons. Now, there is no minus ballistic skill. Yeah, there is actually no minus ballistic skill. So for example, if you fired a Space Marine, according to the old edition, you just rolled a flat scatter dice when firing fragmentation rounds. Whereas in 6th edition and 7th, they changed that and it's minus your ballistic skill. So in this instance it would minus 4, so it's more likely to hit. But if you roll a direct hit, it's the same. Okay, blast with rerolls. If a model has the ability to reroll to hit, chooses to do so after firing blast weapons, the player must reroll both the scatter dice and the 2d6. Okay, scattering blast marks. It's actually nicely written, this rulebook. I know there's been a few complaints in that, like they gradually developed FAQs, but it's nicely laid out. I do like the way this is written out. Pinning. So these are different types of weapons. So weapons called pinning, gets hot. Now they got rid of that ludicrous rule in 4th edition. On a roll of 1, 2 or 3, it gets hot if you fire like 3 rounds or 2 rounds. It's just one shot only, which is perfectly understandable. Other than that, it's exactly the same. Rending has changed. Instead of d6 after you roll a 6, it's just a d3. Now, it said in the 4th editions that it was a rending hit and a roll of a hit of a 6. Any roll to wound of 6 with a rending weapon automatically causes a wound. Much better. They've sensibilized rending very well. And it counts as AP2. So that gets, actually that's quite cool because that gives you +1 to blow up vehicles. But in 6th and 7th edition they changed that to ignores armor saves. Okay. Let's see if they've changed. Sniper. His deadly weapons are used to pick out targets. Okay, against vehicles, sniper goes to strength 3. Yep, they count as pinning weapons and rending. So sniper is very cool. So it hits to wound of a 4 plus regardless of toughness. Any roll of a 6. Yeah, counts as pinning. Yeah, that's cool. Good rules for snipers. A lot of people used to take snipers in 5th edition. Sergeant Tellion was a very good sniper in this edition. Barrage. Yep, it's the same. Basically, you place a marker. There's no guessing anymore. You just measure the range. I'm going to pick the target, check the range, boom. If you out of range, it's a misfire. But other than that, you just roll where the main blast is, and then you roll for the template. You may scatter and 1 deviation dice. It's the same as 6th and 7th, other than that. Okay, Melter. Melter guns, multiple barrages, Lance. Bright Lance, yep, it's the same. Okay, now, Assault Phase. Assault Phase has changed. They have got rid of when you are victorious in a melee, you don't charge another unit in the same phase. So you do your combat, you win, you pursue, sweep for advance, but then you're hopeless. You're into the mercy of the enemy. They may shoot you before you charge again. Interesting. Okay, that's a big change that was. I think in a way it was good that they did that. Maybe they'll bring back the 4th edition rule in 8th edition. You never know. You never know. They could bring back under certain circumstances, like if you steamrolled over the enemy or something like that, or wiped them out. You get to choose to assault again. Maybe that would be the case. Okay, declare assaults, disallowed assaults. Locked in combat. So you can't declare assault if you're locked in combat. If you run, that means you can't shoot. You can't assault, begging your pardon. Gone to ground. Shot rapid fire weapons, unless you're relentless, of course. In the shooting phase, they are falling back. Yeah, give you examples of who can, who can't assault. Move assaulting units. It's the same. Now, it's basically just a 6-inch move to charge. Unlike 6th edition, where it's 2d6 randomized. Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's different. That's like 4th edition. But in 6th edition, they changed that. Multiple enemy units. Now, there's no such thing as disordered charge. So you get all your charge bonuses. So even rage and that type of thing, you'd still get, even if it's multi-assault. They changed that in 6th edition, where they introduced disordered charge. Defenders react. Models may move 6 inches to react, basically based on their initiative step. Fighting in close combat. It's the same. It's the same. Who can fight? Models within 2 inches. It's the same. So it hasn't really much changed, that aspect. It's just the charge distances. The charge distances have changed. Who strikes first, based on the initiative characteristic of the particular model. Let's stomp some armies. Gus Colfracker. Right, assaulting through cover. Now, the defender It's to strike first. Yep, behind cover. Then you've got grenades, which negate the bonuses of cover, especially which is assault grenades. And then you've got defensive grenades, such as the photon grenade that the Tau have. It minus is the bonuses for attacking. Number of attacks, weapons profile, rolling to hit based on weapon skill. So if you're more than double the weapon skill, it's the opponent needs 5s to hit, whereas you need 3s. Simple as that. It really is. Rolling to wound. So that's the same. Yep. Allocating wounds, taking saves, removing casualties. Now bearing in mind there's no such thing as challenges. It's just rolling to hit each other. And you choose who to take off. How interesting is that? Taking saves. I do like the introduction of challenges. That is cool. One of the changes I'll do, if there was 8th edition that came out, is fearless units have to accept challenges. I think that would be quite an interesting rule. So if there's 2 characters that are fearless, you choose which one. Maybe the GW would consider that, just to make it common sense, because how can a fearless guy decline a challenge? Therefore he's not fearless, is he? Moving casualties. Sweeping advances. Yep, is based on the initiative. Exactly the same. Piling. Just like defenders. Same. Move 6 inches up if they're locked in combat. Consolidation. Shooting out of close combat. Shooting into out of close combat. Okay. Models beginning locked in combat are not fire weapons or shooting phase. Yep, that's fine. So you can't shoot if you're assaulted. Very good. Multiple combats. Defenders react. Attacking. Assault results. Awesome. Right, tells you the different types of close combat weapons. Again, no changes really. As such, it's basically if you have a power weapon, ignores armor saves, doesn't have an AP value. That came in 6th edition. Power fists, the same. Witchblades. Oh, okay. Witchblades now. That's a big difference. Witchblades count as strength 9 against vehicles. Rending weapons. So that's clarified earlier on. Weapon rolls a 6. Oh, wait a second. If a model armed with a rending close combat weapon rolls a 6 on any of his rolls to wound in close combat, the opponent automatically suffers 1 wound. So it's not to hit, it's to wound. But even just regardless of toughness as well. So if you're strength 3 against a toughness 8 character, any roll of 6 is still a wound. Nice. And it allows you to D3 extra instead of D6 from previous edition to do armor penetration. Okay. Okay, Thunderhammers. If you roll to wound against a character, and with a roll of a 1, the character has been hit by a Thunderhammer. Counts as initiative 1. Okay. Now taking modifiers. Insane Horizon. Double 1. It's the same. Exactly the same. Taking morale checks. Casualties. Okay, now this may be a bit different. A unit losing 25% or more casualties during the shooting phase must take a leadership check. Do not count as casualties caused by close combat attacks. They are covered later. That's fine. So you do combat resolutions minus the casualties. Tank shock. Okay. Losing an assault. Yeah, minus leadership. No retreat. Immune to morale checks. Okay, here we go. This is a bit different. No retreat. It's not uncommon for units to be immune to morale checks for losing an assault, or to automatically pass them for some reason. They may not have the fearless special. They may have the fearless special rule. Be subject to the vow or some other special rule. When such units lose close combat, they are in danger of being dragged down by the victorious enemy despite their determination to hang on. These units do not take morale checks and will never fall back. Instead, these units suffer a number of wounds equal to the number their side has lost the combat by. All types of saving throws except for cover saves can be taken against these wounds. For example, after all blows are struck, a fearless unit has lost the fight by a difference of 3. The fearless unit does not take morale test, but immediately suffers 3 wounds and take 3 armor saves. That's a big difference. If none of the enemies involved in the combat against a fearless unit can actually hurt it, the unit does not suffer any wounds if its side is defeated in combat and simply continues to fight. Now, I didn't really like this rule. It's a bit cheesy and it made fearless units a bit poor. In 6th edition they cleared it up. Fearless unit, carry on fighting, no casualty modifiers. Now what I remember in 5th edition was I had a unit of, I think it was like a dreadnought or something like that, against a unit of termagants, and the termagants were in synapse range, and obviously the termagants couldn't hurt the dreadnought, and the termagants like lost. Actually, beg your pardon, I had a dreadnought and like an assault squad who won against termagants, but then the termagants lost really bad, like by 10 casualties, and they had to make 10 additional armor saves. That's a bit unfair really for fearless units. I'm so glad they changed that in 6th edition. That was a bit of a boo-boo there, a bit of a rules blunder there that they did, because a lot of people that complained about fearless units taking such a battering. Yeah, glad they changed that in 6th edition. So now, if you lose the melee, fearless, carry on fighting. No casualties, no additional casualties required in saving throws. Falling back, it's the same, 2d6. And yeah, trapped. So if you're trapped, you can't run away from the enemy, considered to be wiped out. Entire unit's destroyed. Okay, firing while falling back. Units that falling back may not go to ground and automatically pass pinning tests. Okay, troops that are falling back may continue to shoot, but obviously count as moving. Yeah. They may of course choose to run instead of firing, but it does towards their own table edge. So you can actually run an extra d6 to run away from the enemy. That's interesting. And you can shoot as well, even whilst falling back. In 6th edition, in 7th, they changed that to snap shooting only. Okay. Assaults whilst falling back. Regrouping. Yep, so it's pretty much the same. Okay. Characteristics. Moving independent characters. Special rules. So independent characters are individual character models that can attach to other more bigger units, using more flexibility. Okay, I think that's pretty much the same. Numeric characters and shooting, it's the same. Counts as part of the unit. Numeric characters and assaults. Bearing in mind, it's the same, but there's no such thing as challenges. That came later on. Okay, Psychers. It's the same. It's the same. Yep. Let's just double check here. Perils of the Warp. Double 1 or double 6. Yep. It's the same. Force weapons, though. You can activate Force weapon. Causes instant death. Unit types. So we've got monstrous creatures. Movement. Monstrous creatures. Movement. They roll 3d6. Yeah. Ah. Maybe this is a bit different. Unless it's specified unit special. Monstrous creatures cannot go to ground. That's fine. That's the same. Voluntary or otherwise. In addition, for a monstrous creature to be in cover, at least 50% of its body, as defined on page 16, to be in cover from the point of view of the majority of firing models. Also, standing in the area terrain does not automatically confer a cover save. So if you had like a crater, okay, and it's not 50% in cover, it's not a cover save. Yeah. So monstrous creatures can be shot at quite easily. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. There's a big issue with cover saves, because this, bearing in mind, this is brand new when it comes to introduction of cover saves for models in general and true line of sight. This is the introduction of true line of sight in a way. Jump infantry, 12 inches is the same. Bearing in mind they don't get Hammer of Wrath, that came in 6th edition. We go up to 12. They can run, fallback moves, 3d6, shooting, same rules as infantry. Assault, jump infantry, assault 6 like normal. This move is slowed by difficult terrain the same way as other infantry, because the unit always confers at least a few yards. This sort of, right, okay, fair enough. Different unit types. Okay, jetpacks. It's the same. Bikes. That's the same, looks like. Risk takers. Additional protection. You get +1 toughness. It's the same. Movement. Move 12. Okay. Bikes have the turbo boosters special rule. That's fair enough. We'll look at that later on. Fallback moves. They move 3d6. Shooting. Assault. It's the same. Must take dangerous terrain tests when going into cover. Beasts and cavalry. It's actually nicely laid out with the different types. It's very good. Has it all in one page. Fallback moves. Shooting. Assault. Beasts and cavalry. Keep on making. Yeah. When assaulting, they move up to 12. That's good. 12-inch charge. Automatically. Yep, 12-inch charge. Don't even have to roll. 6th. Artillery. Assault. It's pretty much the same. There. Vehicles. So there you go. You got the Lehman Russ. It's the same, but bear in mind, Lehman Russ now is 14, 13, 10 instead of 12. Ballistic skill, armor value, uses of vehicles, ballistic skill, vehicles measuring distances. So that measures from the muzzle. Measure from the muzzle, vehicles movement. Okay, a vehicle that remains stationary will be able to bring its full firepower to the enemy. Does that include ordnance weapons? A vehicle that travels up to 6 moving combat speed represents the vehicle's advancing slowly or to keep firing. To produce firepower. That's explained later on. Vehicle that travels more than 6 up to 12 is moving at cruising speed. This represents the vehicle concentrating on movement as fast as possible without firing its guns. There's no snap shooting, remember. Maximum 12 may seem relatively slow for a vehicle, but this represents a cross-country speed rather than travelling on a road. Okay, terrain effects. The result of 1, become immobilised, but then you just move 6 inches if you pass, depending on how fast you're going. Combat speed or cruising speed. Roads, road you get an extra 6 inches on top. Not bad. Crash, bang, wallop. Huh. Greatest pleasures in the Warhammer 40k game is zooming vehicle models about the battlefield and unleashing. Okay. Spectacular event. So it gives you extra rules about battle damage, that type of thing. Pretty good for orcs. Vehicles and shooting. That's nicely laid out. Line of sight, that type of thing. One of the biggest blunders in rulebooks was with Vindicators. In the entry it said an ordnance barrage, but then it said, which is a big mistake, but then in the other section of the codex it said ordnance. So which is it? So Vindicators, according to 5th edition codex of the Space Marines, could fire ordnance barrage. Oh dear, don't worry, I didn't do that. I don't play it like that, I play it properly, as it should be. Oh dear, it's one of the mistakes that Games Workshop did. Right, there you go, you got the side armour. That's measured from, determining what is side and what is rear, what is front armour is determined by the angles, as explained here. Armour penetration is the same as the current rules, but the vehicle damage table has changed. Okay, D6 or less, crew shaken, crew stunned, damaged weapon. Remember, the opponent chooses which weapon comes off, so it hasn't changed. Damaged, immobilised, destroyed, wrecked, explodes. Vehicles are incredibly vulnerable now. Okay, here's the modifiers. Glancing hit is -2, so you can only get an immobilised, it looks like, rather than just losing hull points. Now, hull points didn't exist yet. So the worst thing you can do with glancing hit is immobilise, and if it's immobilised, it counts as a weapon destroyed. Okay. AP dash weapon is -1. Hit by an AP1 weapon is +1. Target is open topped, +1. It's good that they introduced the open topped, but AP1 weapons are +2 on the chart, and AP2 is +1. Okay. Now, vehicle explodes counts as a strength 3 AP dash hit, whereas now it's strength 4 AP dash. Right. Remember, there's no such thing as snapshot, but it's virtually the same. Other than that, were the results. Okay. Rex. Okay, gives you an example here of what is a cover. So that is considered not to be in cover. That is considered to be in cover. Okay. This is a big thing that they've done here. Cover saves for vehicles. Target is obscured, so as a glancing or penetrating hit, you may take a cover save against it. So I click on non-vehicle ones. Save a 5+ for a hedge, so depending on what cover you're in, it's fine. 4+ for building, 3+ for fortifications, so on. Okay. If a special rule from piece of war gear confers a vehicle the ability obstructed or obscured, even if in the open, it's a 4+ cover save. So even if you activate your smoke, it's a 4+ cover save, as explained there. That's ridiculous. Whereas now it's 5+. I really like their cover in this edition, don't they? May rarely happen, so if it's like really obscured, facing. Okay, it may rarely happen that the firing unit cannot see any part of the facing that they are not in front side, but they can still see another facing the target vehicle. In this case, they may take a shot against the facing that they can see. Represents this such extreme angle shot. The vehicle receives a 3+ cover save. Okay. Once per game, vehicle just trigger. Yeah, I use smoke light launchers quite often. They are a good thing to have for vehicles. Yeah. Now smoke is 360-degree arc, so if you activate smoke, it's 360. So you don't have to worry about facing. Vehicles and assaults. Okay. I think it's the same. So if you're stationary, you automatically hit. A vehicle moved at combat speed is a 4+ to hit. This is regardless of weapon skill, by the way. Attacking a vehicle that's moved at cruising speed is 6 is to hit. That's crazy. Note when assaulting how far the vehicle moved. Oh, right. It's the same. Yep. Now, there's no AP value for Melter Bomb. So then get that +1. That's something different. Okay. It's a vehicle's squadrons now. Most vehicles fight as individual units and are represented by a single model. Now, this is where they introduce squadrons for vehicles. A single model, however, some models, war buggies and elder vipers, operate some vehicles known as squadrons. These follow the rules for normal units with the following exceptions. Okay. So they have a coherency of 4 inches. Vehicles as opposed to 2, because obviously they're bigger. Fair enough. Shooting phase. When shooting a squadron vehicle fires all of its available weaponry at a single enemy unit. Like other units, vehicles in squadrons can see or shoot through numbers. Pretty much the same as current editions. Now, yes, there is a big thing here that has changed here. Once the armor penetration rolls have been made, the player controlling squadron allocates the glancing and penetrating hits to the squadron members as he would allocate wounds to members of the normal. Then he takes any cover saves available to the squadron, use the rules of vehicles and determine if the squadron number is in cover, ignoring the rules of the squadron if they are not there. The rules for units. Cover save taken. Damage results against squadrons. I think this is the change here. Mutual support vehicles and squadrons make resilient damage results affecting the crew. On the other hand, crews are under the strict rules to abandon and mobilize vehicles. Disable. Whoa, this is it. Yeah, if you're immobilized, your car's destroyed. That is cheesy. And all stun results as shaken. Now, in 6th edition, what it is that if you suffered an immobilized result, you no longer count as part of the squadron. You become an independent unit. Whereas this edition, again, a big rules blunder in my opinion. Yeah, that was the big change there. When engaged, this is interesting. Assault phase, squadron, enemies hit armor penetration against squadron as a whole. Yeah. Yeah, a bit. I'm glad they changed that. That was a bit silly. They did that. Vehicle types. Tanks, skimmers, fast vehicles, open top vehicles. Gives you all the types of rules. There. Right, as you can see here, this is the rules for embarking and disembarking. Now, you got a unit here which is 6 inches away from the vehicle, but then what they can do is move towards within the 2-inch bracket of where the access points are, and they can immediately embark the vehicle. It's basically what it's saying. It's actually a very good diagram, nicely laid out for the rules for embarking and disembarking. And for disembarking, they can disembark when moving out of the vehicle, and they can act like normal when shooting, but they can't assault unless you are an assault vehicle or open topped. As you can see here as well, the internal explosion is resolved at strength 4 as opposed to external, which is strength 3 AP-hits. And yes, there is the rules for embarking and disembarking. I don't think much has changed other than that in our current editions. Let me know in the comments below if there are differences. Be interesting to know. Your thoughts were. Tank shock. There you go, units pretty much the same for tank shock, but then they introduced a rule called death or glory. Right, so basically what it is that a single figure wishes to destroy a vehicle that is about to ram him. If he fails in that attempt, he gets killed with no saves of any kind allowed. He is removed as a casualty. Another thing they've introduced to 5th edition, which is rather interesting, is ramming. Yes, ramming has been introduced in this edition. So ramming, a rather desperate manoeuvre that means that the tank must concentrate on moving at top speed towards the enemy vehicle. So here's an example. I'll read what the example is. So you got this is the bonus. You get armor, speed, and mass. For each full 3 inches move the turn, you get +1 strength. It looks like that way, yeah. And then you got mass, vehicle of the tank. So here we go. Here's an example. So a rhino is ramming an all truck. The rhino pivots towards the truck and moves 10 full inches before hitting the truck. As the rhino's front armor is 11, the total is 5 + 1 for armor, and +3 for the speed, and +1 for being a tank. So the truck suffers a strength 5 hit on its side armor, which is 10. In return, the rhino suffers a strength 3 hit on its front armor. Okay. A little bit complicated. I think they simplified it more in 6th, but bearing in mind this is an introduction to a new rule, so GW had to adjust and make the rules more easier to understand. I think that's what they're trying to do eventually. When they introduce new rules, they try and clear it up, make it more better for gameplay purposes. Good introduction. I do like ramming. Hardly use that tactic, but I did use that tactic in a few battle reports against Luke, and it was actually quite funny. I had a Lehman Russ ram an orc truck, and that was the actual vehicle I did ram. It was actually quite funny. Open top vehicles. Nothing much has changed. Basically they can salt as they get out. It's much easier to build out of the top vehicle. Exploding top transports 1 point lower than it would be in normal transport. Oh right, so you can get out. There's only strength, so they only suffer a strength 3 as opposed to strength 4. Okay. Slight changes there. Moving fast vehicles. It was 12 to 18. So basically you can move, and then it's basically like a run move, and you can move that extra few inches. Nice. Skimmers, measuring skimmers, shooting at skimmers. Walkers. Basically, if you're in close combat, it always counts as front armour. 45-degree arc for their guns. Looks like. Universal special rules. Aha, this is where it gets interesting. Counter attack. Basically, you count as charging. Eternal Warrior, it's the same. Fearless. Fearless troops automatically pass all morale and pinning tests required to take and will never fall back. They can, however, go to ground voluntarily. Oh, right. They can go to ground voluntarily. Oh, right. This special rule is gained by the independent character joining a fearless unit. However, as long as a fearless character stays with a unit that is not fearless, he loses the special rule. If a unit that is falling back suddenly gains this rule, it will automatically regroup at the beginning of the next movement phase, regardless of all the normal restrictions of regroupment. So you can actually go to ground even when you're fearless. Okay. Feel no pain. Right, so some changes here. Basically, it's the same as in 4th edition. Basically on a 4+ you pass. However, here are the restrictions. Feel no pain is ignored, continues fighting. The ability cannot be used against wounds from that of inflict instant death by having enough strength. What special rule? No effect, even if the model is an Eternal Warrior. Neither can it be used against wounds for AP1 or AP2 weapons. Oh, right. Power weapons and any other wound against which no armor save can ever be taken, like wounds from power fists, dreadnoughts, close combat weapons, rending weapons that roll for 6, pearls of the warp, failed dangerous terrain tests. All right. Okay. Interesting. A few changes there. Fleet. There are many variants of this rule. Fleet of foot, fleet of claw, even fleet of hoof. Title aside, all models with these abilities are treated the same. A unit with this rule may assault in the same turn which he does run. So I used to hate it when Eldar used to do this against my Imperial Guard, especially when I'm playing against Luke. Basically, he used to do it all the time. Fleet, he gets an extra run and then he can charge. It's crazy. Fleet was incredible. It was very good. But now they've changed it so you re-roll dice for movement and for assault. Furious Charge. You get +1 strength and initiative, so it's basically the Bloodthirst rules. But now Furious Charge is just +1 strength, it's not to do with initiative anymore. Hit and Run. It's basically an initiative test, I believe. Let's have a look. Units in this ability that are locked in combat may choose to leave combat at the end of their assault phase. The unit using the hit and run ability may take an initiative test. Looks like it's exactly the same as previous and current editions. Infiltrate. Rules for infiltrating. You can choose to do outflank. Yeah, they introduce outflank here, it looks like. And the rules for if you're out of line of sight, you can deploy 12 inches, in line of sight, 18 inches, anywhere on the table. It's the enemy. Move through cover. You get an extra D6 when rolling through difficult terrain. Night vision senses ignores the penalties for night fighting. We'll look at night fighting a bit later on. Preferred enemy. Now, some warriors, let's see if this has changed. Some warriors are able to predict moves, enemies fighting, blah blah blah. They have developed special techniques. Right, okay, so such troops can always re-roll their rolls to hit in close combat against their preferred enemy. That's a little bit better, but it's still pretty good actually. Yeah, re-rolls to hit. That is very good. So it's kind of like the Zealot special rule. Alright, okay. Rage. Okay. Rage has changed. Okay, in the movement phase, units subject to rage must always move as fast as possible towards the closest visible enemy. Yeah, there's a bit of a hoo-ha here. So for example, a Death Company unit could run into a Rhino where he wanted to attack another unit. I'm glad they changed that to give it 2 attacks instead of 1. Must run towards the closest visible enemy. In the assault phase, they must always consolidate towards the closest visible enemy. Yeah, that was a bit, again, it's a little bit of a rules blunder there. But yeah, again, they changed it in 6th edition, so just for the good. Relentless. They count as stationary and they can assault. Basically the same. Scouts. You can do an additional move. You have to be 12 away from the enemy. Skilled Rider. High predicted movement tests. We reroll failed dangerous terrain tests. Now that's changed. It says now that it ignores. Slow and purposeful. Models of this special rule are relentless. See above. However, they always count as moving through difficult terrain. So that's very, very slow. That's similar to our previous edition, which is 4th edition. Stealth. You get +1 to cover save. It's very simple. Stubborn for modifiers, not subject to modifiers in the combat resolution. Swarms. Swarms represent creatures that are too puny and individual to threaten the battlefield, but operating at the speed of dozens of creatures that can destroy much larger enemies. All swarms have the stealth and vulnerable to blasts and template special rules. In addition, intervening swarms never offer any cover save to monstrous creatures or vehicles. Fair enough. That's changed there a little bit, the wording from previous edition. Tank Hunters. They get +1 to armor penetration rolls. So, for example, if you had a las cannon, which is strength 9, if they had the special rule Tank Hunters, they would count as strength 10. Pretty good. And that's changed from re-rolling armor penetration. Turbo boosters. You can move up to 24 in the movement phase. Yeah, so you do your 24. Yeah, +1 jink as well, so it's a 3+ cover save. Nice. Vulnerable to blasts and templates. So basically, it's for every 1 wound from a blast template, it counts to 2. There you go, the special rules. Buildings and ruins. There you go, buildings and ruins there. Okay, possible buildings, occupying buildings. There you go, there's an example. Out there. Aha, here we go, buildings and armor chart. So wooden shed is armor value of 9. Log cabin, brick house, concrete city building, stone wall place, and a bastion or bunker. Counts as front 14, side 14, rear 14. Play weapons, fire points, access points. Just gives you an example here. Just gives you the bastion. Okay. There you go. Marines in the squad are in coherency. Yeah, that's squad coherency. Now, squad coherency, I think, is 6 inches now in a ruin. Leave your comments below to see if that is the case. I think that is true. Yeah. So now, instead of 6 inches to move up a level, it's just 3 inches. They've changed that. In the last edition, it was 6 inches to move up, which is crazy. Jet bikes are different because they're not subject to levels. They can just zoom up there. Very good. Now, with blast, it's very, very controversial, but it says only a level at a time, whereas in 6th and 7th editions, I think it's anyone's underneath the template, including all levels, are hit. But some people do a house rule, where it's only a certain amount of levels, like maximum of 3 levels, or depending on if it's an ordnance cannon. Yeah, it's interesting about blast templates there. So there you go. Here's an example here. Blast templates. We've only reached halfway through the book. There's so much that I can think of about as to what to do. So I hope you're bearing with me as we go through this rulebook. So many changes in a way as compared to 7th edition. Fantastic. There's the different types of troops and types of units. You've got HQ, troops, elites, fast attack, heavy support. So then you got the example of force organisation. There, that's what you stick to. Unlike in 7th edition, where there's something called bound and unbound, which I think is a good move that Games Workshop did that. Otherwise, you're so restricted. In a way, it gives you a different variety of game. But then they introduced Apocalypse back in late 4th edition, so which is good. Okay, prepare for battle. There you go, gives you an example of the battlefields. Okay, these are the types of missions. Very easy. 1 to 2 is seize ground. 3 to 4 is capture and control. And 5 to 6 is annihilation. Alright. Yeah. Seize ground. These are the types of missions. Look how easily laid out it is. Seize ground. So you get D3 plus 2 objectives. The winner of the roar chooses the point. So it looks like, yeah, within 3 inches you get... well, you get a point. Okay. Interesting. Capture and control. After deciding deployment zones, but before deploying a unit, deploy forces started with the player first. Within 24 of other objective. Position the objectives. Deployment forces begins described. Okay, we're in 3. Oh, I see, there's just one objective and you have to hold it. Just going back and thinking memories of these missions we used to play. Interesting stuff. It's changed so much. 40k in general. Annihilation is just basically a kill point game. 1 point for each enemy killed. Easy as that. And then you got the different type of battles. So that there, pitched battle, that would be called Dawn of War now. Spearhead. So your deployment zone was in this bracket except for 12 inches away from the circle. And then you, oh, Dawn of War is here. Alright. So Dawn of War is, it looks like 18 inches. Okay. This is a 6x2, so yeah, pitch battle. Okay. Then you roll off 1 to 2 pitch battle, 3 to 4 spearhead, 5 to 6 Dawn of War. There's no what's it called, strategy ratings for factions. I think they got rid of that now in this edition. Okay, reserves. On turn 2 it's 4+, turn 3, 3+, turn 4, 2+, turn 5 onwards it's automatic. Unlike just 3+, and then turn 4 everything turns up. Okay, now this deep strike mishap table was much better than in 4th edition. So on a roll of a 5 or a 6, it's delayed. 3 or 4 is misplaced, so the opponent gets to choose where to place it, and 1 or 2 is a terrible accident. Current edition, it's 4, 5 and 6 is delayed, 2 and a 3 is misplaced, and a roll of a 1 counts as destroyed, or terrible accident. The rules for deep strike, outflank. They introduce the rules for outflank now. So on a roll of a 1 or a 2, it's on the left, 3 and a 4 is on the right, 5 or 6 the opponent chooses. Okay, now we're into the gallery showcase. That's a cool picture. Look at that. Excellent. The Imperium of Man, the Emperor. Nice. Nice pictures here, gives you more of the fluff. Custodes now been introduced. Terror. Let's see, hierarchy of terror. The Emperor of mankind. Signs of the Imperium. I, the Emperor. The enemy within. Worlds of the Imperium. Oh, it's nicely laid out. Imperius dominate. More fluff there. Defenders of the Imperium. Cool. Dark Age of Technology. Age of the Imperium. Time of the Ending. Actually more. Look at that. So there's the Black Templars. There you go. The structure of the Space Marine Company. And then the introduction to the Space Marine faction. Various chapters. The Adeptus Astartes. Assault on the Black Reach. The Imperial Guard. The Conqueror. The Unstoppable. The Hammer of the Emperor. Cool. Different factions for the Imperial Guard. Excellent. That's a cool background there. Chaos Space Marines, cruel marauders, ruthless overlords, traitors all. Signs of the warp, doom, given form, the children of madness. Oh, it's getting more sinister and darker. Builders of fate, lords of the void above, first amongst the stars, the Eldar. Cool pictures. Fantastic illustrations there of the Eldar craft world. The Beast, the Star Savages, the Ruffle Green Tide, the Orcs. Kill. Last Hours of Vosks, the Great Devourer, the Star Swarms, the Hive Mind Incarnate. That's how Tyranids invade a planet from certain steps. And you got, looks like Ravenous. It's cool illustrations. And then you got Ripper Swarms to finish off and consume the planet. The children of the greater good, vibrant upstarts, sparks of life in a dying galaxy. Tau. Cool faction. Allies. Cool. I like the illustrations here. This is really good. It's fantastic. The Dark Eldar, the Lost, Shadows of Slaughter, Night Stalkers. Dark Eldar craft world. Eternal Warriors, soulless echoes of hatred, the inevitable ones, the Necrons. The Fall of Damnos. Oh, don't we hate the Necrons, us Ultramarines. There it is. Oh, the Damnos battle. The Warhammer 40,000 hobby. There you go. Gaming table. Drop pods. Space Marines. There we go. These are all quite familiar. These miniatures. There we go. Very nice. Forces of the Imperium. Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Demons. The Eldar. The Orcs. The Tau Empire. The Tyranids. Dark Eldar. So glad they're revamped. So glad they're revamped. And the Necrons as well. Collecting an army. Here we go. There you go, you got the Ultramarines there. That's a cool card scheme for the Tyranids. And you got the Eldar as well. Very nice. Painting. Guided tour on painting, how to paint miniatures. Finished army. Chapters and regiments. It's very nice. Eldar army. Nice conversions there. That's a cool Wraith Lord.
Chaos, nice colour schemes. Chaos Resist looks like. Tyranids, that's a fantastic looking terrain piece. That looks so cool. Citadel terrain. Boards again, really good. The terrain is fantastic. Orc looted well. The tower. Superb. Reach station. E8 400 76. Imperial Palace. Look at that, it's fantastic. Battles. There. Blood and Dust. There we go. Showing you a game. There, Phil Kelly. Battle Rages. There we go, let's give you a demonstration how to do a battle report. Road to Glory campaign. Campaign overview. So you can do little campaigns games as well. Brilliant, I love doing lore-based campaigns. I have to introduce that to the channel. Force Supremacy. Battle 4. Beginning of the End. Battle 5. Cauldron of War. This is Apocalypse. Type campaign report. Cool conversions of the Imperial Guard. Fighting against Orcs. Space Marine veterans. Taking the campaign further. Medusa. Inventing new missions, so you can make your own missions up. Objective markers you can have. That's really cool. Objective 1, etc. Evacuation. Broken Alliance. Cities of Death. There you go, you got Cities of Death expansion there. Or boss. Cool. Nice conversions there. Orc looted army. Apocalypse. Look at that. Huge battle there. It's a fantastic terrain piece there. Brilliant battle. Bane Blades. God, I love the Bane Blade. There we go. You get figures from Forge World. And obviously you've got Games Workshop. Tournaments. There you go. Give you a demonstration of what tournaments looks like. Getting involved. There you go. Gives you insight on how to get involved. Finding out more. That's how I started Games Workshop. The White Dwarf issue. Into the far future. And the game is forever developing. Now, all the factions have all the statuses for each type of unit. So you've got the Space Marines, basically all the codex is condensed in the rulebook. But for future reference they don't do this anymore because GW obviously would lose money. But they won't in a way because codexes are forever developing. There you go. You've got the Eldar, Dark Eldar, Orcs, Tower Empire, Necrons, Victory Points, Quick Reference Sheet, Index, Roll of Honour. And there you go. And that is the end. So, what do I think of 5th edition? It's a good rule set. There's a few rules, 1 or 2 rules that I don't particularly like, especially the Fearless rule. I'm glad that's changed in this edition. Fleet was rather ridiculous as well. And the rules for squadrons as well, I'm not over keen on them personally. But they've improved that in 6th edition. They cleared all that mess up in that edition. But other than that, it's a fantastic edition to play for its time. I was really pumped up and excited when this edition was going to come out, and it's paid off. It has, in a way, been an improvement from 4th edition. It's been a very, very good rulebook to play, and we played this for 4 years because Games Workshop tried to release a rulebook every 4 years, except for the next edition, which is 6th edition. That was only lasted for 2 years. But overall, it's a very good rulebook. Few changes I'd make with the rules. On a personal note, I don't particularly like. But I highly recommend this rule. So there you go, that is my opinion and my book review of 5th edition. I know it's a bit of a long video, but I do hope you enjoyed this video, because there is so much that we can learn from previous editions. People seem to realise, oh, it doesn't really matter. Well, it does in a way. I think how the game's developed is a fascinating aspect, and the history of 40k itself is a very in-depth thing to look at. So that's why I've done these videos, and I like looking at the past, I like looking at how they've improved the game over the years. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more videos like this, and battle reports coming on the channel, and Tactica, and you name it. It's all going to come up hopefully very soon as the channel develops. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode.